Hello, my name is Rita. This is my channel 10 Red Lipsticks and Happy New Year! Welcome to my first video of 2023. So I didn't film anything in December. I got sick, I was busy, I'm in a choir, December's very busy. So I haven't done any kind of 2022 roundups. So today is going to be my first video looking back on the whole of 2022 makeup wise, and it's going to be my top 20 eyeshadow palettes of the year. This video will also be my finale for the Fantastic Ladies Size Matters Project Pan, where I tried my best to hit a few pans. Did I get there? Did I not? I will leave a timestamp down below if that's the only portion of today's video that you're interested in. Spoiler alert, it was my most used palette of the year, so it's at the end of the video, but I will leave the timestamp down below. Now, this isn't my favourite palettes of the year. I didn't try loads and loads of new palettes, and if I did, I didn't get enough chance to really get to know them to, I think, rank them fairly. So I'm not going to be talking about my favourite eyeshadow palettes today. I will have a video about general makeup 2022 favourites. I might film that next week, and I will talk about favourite palettes of the year there. But what I wanted to do today was talk about the palettes that I used most. So my top 20 in terms of how many times I used them in the year. I have been tracking what eyeshadow I wear every single day since the 1st of January 2021. So I'm 2 years in now. I love doing it. It is a huge eye-opener. Even just to track for a month or two, I would advise it if you're, on a low buy and you're trying to motivate yourself to stick to it, or a no buy, or you're project panning. Looking at what you're using is really helpful in terms of realizing what's a realistic goal in a project pan, but also I find it just very, very helpful when I'm lusting over a palette I really want to buy, to think, well, how many times am I going to be able to use it in the next year? And very often the answer to that question is like 5 times. Because I have other palettes that I perhaps have set specific project pan goals on, or I just am really into and enjoying. And 5 uses is very few, but also if you look at the cost per use, if a palette is €50, that means you're paying €10 every time to use it. The cost per use is a tenner every time you use it in the next year if you only use it 5 times. Now, you might fall in love with it, you might use it far more than that, but in my experience, I have firm favourites, and I am trying to use my That palette a lot. So yeah, it's hard to use when you own over 100 eyeshadow palettes. It's hard to use them very, very much. So some of these numbers are going to sound very, very low, and they are, but the truth is I also rotated through most of the rest of my collection. I didn't use every single palette this in 2022, but I used a lot of them. So I am going to get straight into it. I know these numbers are low at the beginning, but once we get to the top with some bigger numbers, and my total uses of my top 20 palettes for the year of 2022 were 223 uses. And my total uses for all of my palettes for 2022, oh, I haven't calculated that. Oh no, this spreadsheet is in bits. Okay, so that's just 223 uses of my top 20 is just a fraction of my overall uses of the year. Also, I will say I wore makeup less often in 2022 than I did in 2021. I was sick several times this year. I had appendicitis, I had COVID, I had various bugs other times of the year that completely floored me, and it just wasn't possible to wear makeup. And that's okay. I'm not going to wear makeup when I don't feel like it just to get the numbers up, but that's just a reality reflected in these numbers as well. I feel like this is a good transitional winter into spring mug. It's from Dunn's. I think it's just so beautiful. So The numbers start out low, but that's okay. Also, I count using just one shade as one use of the palette, or I could have used every shade in the palette. It's all good. So, in joint 7th place, I've got 3 palettes. The Natasha Denona Mini Love, the Natasha Denona Mini Gold, and the LA Girl Pro Mastery. I'm wearing my glasses for this video because I'm reading my laptop, and it'll just make life much easier if I wear my glasses. Also, I'll be able to see when the camera goes out of focus because I'm holding things close to it. So yeah, I love the Gold and the Pro Mastery. Love I like. I'm not sure if I love it. So happy that all of those are in the list at just 6 uses each. Not a huge amount. Next up at 7 uses, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 palettes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now my box is getting top heavy the wrong way and it's going to fall. So first off, we've got 2 more Natasha Denona minis, the Mini Nude and the Mini Retro. I have raved and raved and raved about the Mini Retro. It's the best thing since sliced bread. I absolutely adore it. Mini Nude, I thought I would like more. I like it, but I thought I would like it more. And actually, like, this formula is lovely, but I prefer the Catrice, this guy, the Catrice 5 in a box in 010. What? Golden Nude look. It's not the same. They're not the same at all, but they're like similar vibes, and I prefer the color story of that one. And it was much cheaper. Next up is a palette I do not have anymore. So that is the Sydney Grace Coffee Talk palette. So I used that 7 times. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And for me, it was too dark. There were like a good number of shades that I just didn't want to use. So I decluttered it specifically because I knew that Ruth, I'll link her, or I'll put her channel name here, would enjoy it or wanted to try it. And I actually think she's been uploading like a lot of videos in December. Go check her out. I haven't caught up on all of them, so I'm not sure if she's uploaded her thoughts on it yet, but she had put it in a project to try it out, and I think she kind of had the same vibe as me, that it wasn't everything she hoped it would be. So I feel actually now really reassured in decluttering that palette, that I waited until the Sydney Grace Christmas in July sale in 2021. It was the first order of makeup I allowed myself to make all year from the US. Because in 2020 I ordered way too many things from the US and I was paying customs and it was out of control. So in 2021 I was like, no, I'm not going to do it until the Christmas in July sale, and then it's like a different offer every day. So the day that I placed my order on, what the offer was that you got that palette for free. So technically I got that palette for free, but I really should have ordered on the day where I think it was buy one get one free on single shadows, because I ordered 12 singles and I love them, and it would have been much better if I had only paid for 6 of them. But anyway, I digress. Lovely formula, absolutely stunning formula, and Sydney Grace do an amazing thing that all brands should do, where they release the same palette in a light version and a deep version. I just think the light version should have a few, they usually only change 1 or 2 shades between the different versions. I think they should change more of the shades. Now, obviously, it's just preference as well. I just don't like a deep eyeshadow look. It's not my preference, but there were like a lot of deep shades in that. So, all my thoughts on that. Amazing formula. I think the Sydney Grace formula is really beautiful, but yeah, that palette wasn't it for me. Next up, we have an eye and face palette. This is the Milani all-inclusive in 010 light, or light to medium. The bronzer is too deep for me. The highlighter is a bit too much for me. I love the eyeshadow colours. The formula is alright. It's not amazing. I think it's better than the gold Milani palettes that everybody raved about. But I really like this, and it's just handy to have an eye and face palette to pick up and use all at once. And I love that Milani have a few different colour stories in this. So they have like, this is light to medium, and then they have a medium to deep that's like kind of similar vibes to this. But then they also have a smoky one that's like greys and cool tones. And I hope they actually do more in this format, because I just think it's very, very good and user friendly for like the ordinary makeup consumer, to have, you know, it all in one, and it gives you a chance to try out a few different things from Milani, and it's very good travel packaging. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's the world's best palette, but it's good, and I was happy with it. And I really, really, really like this pink shimmer. This is so pretty. I'll just finger swatch it quickly. Look at that. So pretty. My main issue with Milani eyeshadows is longevity on my eyes. I do feel that like now I'm using the Catrice. I have today I have an Urban Decay primer on, but I think the Catrice primer is my favorite eyeshadow primer. I'm trying to look for it, but I don't know where I put it. With the orange lid that seems to be only available in Europe and not in the US. I'm like, why are you doing this to me? Anyway, I do think that helps. Back in the day I was using this e.l.f. primer. No good. Didn't do anything. So next I've got the Colourpop Blush Crush. So we're still on 7 uses. I really like this palette. I think the packaging is the prettiest thing ever. And I've realised, like today I'm wearing the Natasha Denona Retro, and so many things are like rosy nudes or purple. There aren't that many pinks. Like I want more pinks, and here you get some proper pinks. I do wish like Made You Blush and How Rouge and Blush Wine are all the glitter in matte formula, and I just really wish they weren't, because I want to just blend and be lazy and do things quickly, and then there's glitter all over my face and it's annoying. But I really like the shimmers, in particular Blossom Up. So pretty and enamored, and they have this like gold sheen to them, which I think is very, very pretty. So yeah, I love that. 7 uses, happy with that. Next I've got the Catrice Miss Bunny palette. So this was a Disney collab that came out, yeah, earlier in 2022. It only came out in Europe. I was thinking, oh, it'll come out later in the US, but then it didn't, and then they brought out a new villains collection, and I was like, what? Because usually, like with the princess ones in like 2021, they came out in Europe, and then a few months later they went to the US, but this collection seems to have never come to the US, which is strange. Anyway, I like this palette. I don't adore it. It's fine, it's good, but it's just not really my colour story. There are colours I love in it, but you know, it's an 18 pan and there's a lot in it. The reason I used this so much is not just preference, it is because I put it in my Welcome to the Hellmouth project pan. I have filmed my finale for that. I haven't edited it because the footage is so annoying, because I filmed it on Halloween and there's just constant fireworks, non-stop fireworks going off. So I'm not sure if it's worth it at this stage. But anyway, I used every shade in this palette for that project, and because it's an 18 pan, that meant using it quite a bit, so I've used it 7 times. And before that I was like, oh, I might like do a review. I don't know what I'm doing reviewing makeup. I'm not. I am gonna have to adjust the blind. Give me 1 sec. I don't think I am experienced enough with makeup, and I don't think I'm good enough at doing my makeup to do proper reviews, but I wanted to do, you know, swatches and stuff. So I like specifically kind of filmed myself applying a look and stuff like that. So that boosted my numbers on those palettes. But this was the only one of the 4 I bought from that collection that made it into my top 20. Sorry, we're still on 7. So next is the BH Cosmetics Smitten in Switzerland. I love this palette. I travelled with this. Oh, and maybe it was in a 5x5 project. Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. The only thing is you can't really do like a proper warm neutral look unless maybe you like mix this brown and this yellow to make a warmer brown. I don't know. But you can do a cool neutral look, a neutral look, pinks, greens, greys, blacks. The blue I'm not interested in. I would personally get rid of this shade and even maybe this shade. Or like having all three of these just seems a little redundant, and I feel like they could have put in a warm brown instead, to just, because like with this shimmer you could do a warm neutral look, and then to me this would be kind of an ideal travel palette where you get a good bit of variety and the standards, and there's a lovely mirror and it's beautiful and it's not too big. But yeah, so kind of a warm brown is all I think this is missing. Obviously I have a million warm browns, I don't need it, and I think it's good as is, but those are just my thoughts from traveling with it in particular. And next is another amazing £16 palette. This is the NABLA Side by Side. I want to use this more than 7 times in a year, because look at those shimmers, they're so beautiful. So I did this No Pan Left Behind in Welcome to the Hellmouth for the Willow prompt about magic, I think, I'm not sure. And we have a shade here, Magic Moment. Actually, I don't think that's true. It was some other prompt. Anyway, it's great. All of them are amazing. I love NABLA's formula so much. In particular, their mattes are so creamy and amazing. And I love the packaging. I think it's beautiful. The only thing I wish was different about the packaging is this is like that soft touch business and just kind of clings onto shadow and stays dirty, which is not ideal because sparkly powders make things dirty. So next up, we're up to 8 uses. We are going to start jumping up now in a little while, but there were just like a lot of things in these bottom numbers. So at 8 uses, oh, I lied. The Colourpop Blush Crush was at 8 uses, not 7. And then we have another from Colourpop. It's a princess thing. Was that only 8 uses? So the reason that this is in the top 20 is Fairy Godmother. Oh, maybe Fairy Godmother was the Willow prompt for the magic thing. I don't like this shade. It's much more peachy than I thought it was. At first I thought it was very pink, and it's much more peachy. And like, it's not that I hate it. Sorry, I can't get the sheen to show at the angle I swatched it, but it is a shimmer. It's nice. I don't hate it, but like having it in the project, and I was trying to use it 13 times. Too much. I grew to despise it. Also, I bought this palette for the packaging. I love Disney. I love princesses. This was out of stock for ages, so I was afraid they had to discontinue it, and then it came back, and then I placed like a panic order, and I was like, oh, I have too many eyeshadow palettes, blah, 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 blah. So I ordered like a bunch of skincare, or not a bunch, but like a moisturizer that I hated, a few foundations, and Super Shock blushes, which I did love. So I bought this for the packaging. I like the colour story. I despise the inner packaging. I hate that this is gold. I think that's ugly. I don't know why, but I think that's ugly. I love this and the gold up here, but I wish this was cream or black or something. So I am just not going to buy another palette for the packaging or for the theme if the inside is gold, or if they have the thing where the pans are like lined, like outlined with gold. Like I think the California Love or Dream or whatever that palette's called has that, and I just think that's hideous, and I don't know why, but it just makes me not want to use the palette. So yeah, this colour story is so pretty, and I really want to, like, you can see the little dip there in Fairy Godmother, not much, but like the disturbance there, and other shades look completely untouched because I just was resentful of Fairy Godmother. I didn't want to use it, so I would like do a look with another palette and then just pat on a bit of Fairy Godmother on the lid. So yeah, I want to get to know the rest of this palette in the next year. Maybe not use Fairy Godmother in the next year, we shall see, but I did use it 8 times. And next is the Glamshop Poland Chocolate Cherry palette. I don't adore this packaging. I don't think it's super pretty. But I love that the inside is pink. I think that works really well with this colour story. These shimmers are phenomenal. They have all kinds of different formulas in Glamshop. When I ordered this, it was Black Friday 2021. And then I got it like, I think a day or two before Christmas 2021. Which just, I'm not mad about at all. Ordering from another country, ordering from a small company. At the busiest time of the year, it's totally fine. This palette's lovely. It's not 100% my colour story, but I think that's okay. I can't remember who it was, but somebody was doing a declutter I was watching the other day, and she was talking about things filling gaps in her collection. So like not just having, you know, 50 cool neutral palettes and 50 warm neutral palettes and 10 purple palettes and whatever, but having different palettes, and this is definitely different for me, and I really love it. I think that shimmer is so beautiful. So this was in a project is how I used it 8 times, and also I really think it's more of an autumn color story, so I didn't really want to use it when it arrived at the end of winter. So I waited until the autumn to use it, and that's fine. Next up, we've got palettes I used 10 times. So I've got 2 here. First is another Colourpop. Yeah, this is the last Colourpop. Wild Nothing. This is my favourite Colourpop palette. It's amazing. I think these 2 Super Shocks have gone a bit wonky because it is old now. And I wish this, it's kind of washed out. It's much like more vibrant in person. This shade shouldn't have shimmer in it. And I actually am considering popping that out and putting a very similar shade, because the Colourpop pans are, all the Colourpop pans I have in magnetic palettes are this size, so I can interchange them no problem. There, that's better colour lighting. You can see the shade there. They have just announced a very exciting program where when you place a Colourpop order, you can add a free refill, they're calling it. But you don't have to have bought that palette before. So, for example, I think there's 2 shades from the Blush Crush that they've got. They've got 1 or 2 from That's Taupe, 1 from It's My Pleasure, 3 from Going Coconuts, including Cocoa Crush, which, let me find it. Just, oh, it's up here. Sorry. I need to reorganize my eyeshadow and put it all back home where it belongs. So Cocoa Crush is this shade here. That's it on the finger. And that's it on the hand. It is so beautiful. So, so beautiful. I would highly, highly recommend it. They also have, I think, Coolada and Lovely Bunch. This matte and this matte, which are good. Though I'm not sure people need more matte brands. Though, that being said, I want to order one of the mattes. They have, I think it's like So Stoked, or no, I don't know what the name of it is, but they have one of the mattes from That's Taupe. And it is the shade that I want to buy That's Taupe for. The reason I haven't bought That's Taupe is it's very expensive for me to order from Colourpop, because they do not write their customs forms correctly. So if I buy stuff on sale, they put on like a receipt on the outside of the box, or an order list on the outside of the box that has the full price instead of the sale price that I actually paid, which means when I'm paying customs, when it comes into the EU in Ireland, then I'm paying way more tax than I need to, which is extremely frustrating, and I really, really wish they would cop on and change that. It's so annoying. So it has me really wanting to not place another Colourpop order, but if I do, I'll be getting that matte shade I want from That's Taupe without having to buy the entire palette, including the packaging, which I think is hideous because I personally hate animal print. Now, snakeskin is probably one of the least offensive to me, but I just don't like animal print at all. So I would like want to depot those shades anyway. So very interested in that. So anyway, I'm thinking of doing that, and I'm thinking of potentially popping these out and replacing them if they are in fact unusable, which is my suspicion. I adore this packaging, and if all of these shades go bad in the future and become unusable and I get new Colourpop palettes, I'll be putting those shades in here because this palette is amazing. I also would be trying to replicate this colour story because I love this colour story. This is, in my opinion, the best eyeshadow palette out there for people with pale skin. There is nothing in this palette that I don't use, and that is extremely unusual. There's nothing in this palette that I have to be forced to use through a project pan. So I'm very, very happy with this palette. I absolutely love it, and I'm not surprised at all that I used it 10 times. Next up, I did have it in a project. I had that in a 5x5 in January last year, and before I got sick with my appendicitis, I was able to use it, if not 5 times, like several times. Next, another 10 uses is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. So beautiful. I love this. I love cool tones. I love that there are 10 shimmers and 5 mattes. Ideal. I haven't got a love for every single shade. Like, these guys aren't necessarily it for me. This shade is amazing. What is it? Teresa's Dead says, like, put this in the casket. This in the casket with me, thank you. This Galaxia from the mini retro. What other shades have I talked about? Magic Moment from the NABLA Side by Side. Yeah, all of those in my casket, please. The rest of it I like a lot. I love this gold isn't too gold. I think it's cool. So yeah, very happy that I used this 10 times. These are expensive palettes. I would want to be using them. Next up at 11 uses, I've got the Natasha Denona Retro palette. And this is what I'm wearing today. So today I have, now that I've taken my glasses off, I can't read them. Andy in the crease, Go-Go on the outer lid, Groove in the outer corner, but like not a whole lot of it. Psychedelic and Glitz on the lid and inner corner. So this, and then these 2 light shimmers. And I like this look a lot. My problem with this palette is it's not pink enough. And you might be looking at it thinking like, that's plenty pink. No, I think Psychedelic and Glitz are way too similar. I would like a mid-toned pigmented shimmer pink and a mid-toned pigmented matte pink. And these really are like, this is my idea of retro glam in terms of like cool tone neutrally pinks. Like as in if you combined the glam palette and the retro palette, or if you combine the glam palette and a pink palette, you get this. And I kind of wanted this to be a pink palette. Now, there are 3 pinks in the retro glam green and pink palette that Natasha Denona has released that I really want. And if she sold those as singles, I think I would buy them. But while I might use a few of the greens in that palette, I wouldn't use them all. It's not worth the money. I'm not going to do it. And if I was going to buy another 15 pan Natasha Denona palette right now, it would be the My Dream palette, in which I think there are 2 shades I wouldn't use, but the rest of them look extremely interesting to me. So, that's the situation. Now, if I saw retro glam on the world's best deal, you never know what I might do. You never know. But, yeah, I want those pinks and I don't really want the rest of it. Next up, that palette was in a few projects over the year. Next up is the Bronze palette. Lovely, lovely palette. I used this 13 times, so we finally have a little jump. Bliss is my favourite shade. It unfortunately gets hard pan because I use it with my finger. But I'm going to scrape it off and then I use it again. Silk is another favourite, and Gloaming. The whole palette's lovely. These cool tone deep shades are lovely. All of it's amazing. It doesn't have an inner corner highlight, and it should. So perhaps one of the uses of the Natasha Denona Mini Nude was just me using the lighter shimmer in the inner corner with the look that was almost entirely this palette, because that is something this is missing. Now, it is great that these pens are removable and I have 3 in that size, so I can put in one of the lighter shimmers from the Glam palette in here if I wanted to make it more an all-in-one palette for me. Aren't the three of them pretty together? So how much have I used three of those together? So I've used them 34 times together in the year, and oh, I don't really think that's enough considering how expensive they are, even though I got them on a pretty good discount. And bronze arrived with 5 shattered shades. I pressed them back in myself and I got a 33% refund because of that. So my bronze was actually really cheap, in comparison to your ordinary price for a Natasha Denona midi. Anyway, next up is an absolute favourite palette, but I didn't use it as much in the way I wanted this year, and this is the Zoeva Premiere palette. Look at it, amazing. So I used this guy 14 times, and I have a little bit of a dip here in Magisterial Vibrato because this shade was in my Welcome to the Hellmouth project pan to use 13 times, and I used it 14 times. This guy I love. I love this whole palette. This whole palette's amazing. So I think in autumn this year I want to get this out again and use it a bit more, play with the rest of it a bit more. Also, perhaps in the future, because like I have a little bit of use on this shade now, maybe I could hit pan on that shade in the future. But yeah, I absolutely adore the Zoeva formula. I adore the packaging. I wish she would do more of these kind of fun palettes. I don't think, did she release a palette in 2022? I don't think she did. So I think the Together We Shine and Together We Grow full size 10 pans and mini 6 pans came out in 2021 maybe. And those are the only palettes they stock now, which is really unfortunate. I haven't used Together We Grow, but I have the mini of Together We Shine. It's very nice, but it's just rosy neutrals. It's not like a fun, interesting colour story in the way these are. So I wish she'd do a few more, and perhaps if they're not maybe as popular as the neutrals, maybe just do the minis. That could work. Anyway, I don't know anything about running a business, obviously, so I've no idea. Next up at big jump, 22 uses for the year, is the Viseart Paris edit. So these are the teeny weeny little palettes. Mine arrived broken, so I had 3 shades missing. My goal was to hit pan on any shade. So at first I was kind of using everything and I wasn't sure, and I was thinking, sure, maybe it'll be this brown, maybe it'll be this shimmer. But no, then I was like, okay, no, targeted pan here, inner corner. So I have to, it's actually very small. So you can see there a tiny little bit of pan. Yeah, it took way more uses than I thought it would to hit pan on this tiny palette that like loads of the shades are repressed because it arrived absolutely smashed into pieces. So this palette was actually completely free because I got a full refund when it arrived smashed. And I adore the Viseart formula. Ruth actually was saying that she's not sure if she loves the formula. I love it because there is so little fallout and the mattes are so soft and blendable. I think they're beautiful. The shimmers are generally not super intense, but I think they're still pretty. And actually, I think it's a great formula to use with maybe some of your toppers or your single shadows, if you want more whack-a-bam high shine stuff going on. But these shimmers are totally possible. They're fine. But I can see why people want something more. So yeah, use that 21 times, which I'm happy with, though I really thought I would hit pan sooner. And then huge jump up to my most used palette of the year, my 2022 Fantastic Ladies collab Panda palette. The theme was Size Matters, and the reason I picked this is that it's so deep. In the deeper drawers of this, it just, at the bottom of this Alex Stein drawer, there are deeper drawers. It just fits standing upright. But if it's in a box, like if I have an organizer inside the drawer and I put that, then it doesn't fit. That's how big it is. It's only a 9 pan, but the pans are huge. So there is... each shade is 2.8 grams. That is so much eyeshadow. I really want to get the Chosen Bun palette from Beauty Bakerie, which I think is the same format as this. I really wish it was smaller though, and a bit cheaper because they are a bit expensive. I got this on a great discount. As you can see, the only pan I hid is in Forehead Kisses. This shade is so beautiful. I really, really enjoyed using it. And you can see, like, they're so deep, they're huge. I have, you know, you can see a little bit of use in some of the shades. I've a bit of a dip there in Messy Hair. And I have a proper deep dip in Fresh Face. But I'm not sure how super obvious that is. So yeah, I am very happy with this palette. I continued to adore it the entire way through the year. I did take a break in November because I did a little project I made up, Natasha November, where I just used all my Natasha Denona palettes. But the whole rest of the year I was using it pretty consistently, and I was never once disappointed with a look I did out of this palette all the year. I think this color story is just intensely flattering, and the quality, the formula of the palette is lovely as well. So I think this is amazing. It was in Size Matters because I find it inconveniently big. I think it's ridiculously large for a 9 pan. I wish they would redo these a little bit smaller. I'm also very interested in the Beauty Bakerie for Target, or might be Target and somewhere else, line where they have like Get That Dough or something, another neutral one, and they've colourful ones as well, and they're all very affordable. If I was in the US I would buy those, but I'm not. So yeah, I love that. That is my finale for the Size Matters project pan, and not the best progress. There, you know, there were people hitting several pans every week, but there were also a lot of people doing palettes that had like are huge because they had like a million shades, but the actual pans were not huge. These pans are huge. So also I'm newer to panning and I want to rotate through my collection as well, so I'm happy enough with that. By the way, the reason I don't have my nails polished is because I don't want to mess with them, because I'm getting married in February and I would like when I get my nails done for it to look good. So I find I'm very lazy and bad, and I like chip off my nail polish and then I scrape it off and it's bad for my nails and all the rest of it. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will talk about my favourite palettes of the year in my 2022 favourites, which will hopefully come together next week. But those are my top palettes in terms of usage, which part of doing this for me is, you know, I started tracking usage just for myself in 2021, and then during the year I started my Instagram, and then during 2022 I started this channel, and I am very afraid of recommending something to somebody because I love it and I think it's cool, but I actually haven't used it that much. So I just want to put in context, like, all these palettes up to 52 uses, but starting at only 6 uses, and that's just not very much. Like, I highly, highly recommend these 2 palettes. I haven't used them that much this year though, so take my recommendations with a grain of salt. And I think anyone with a big collection, obviously there are like people who reviewing makeup as their thing and they have like just a huge amount of experience, so I would absolutely take I would value their opinion, absolutely, and their review, but I would still take it in the context of knowing they were probably only able to use that palette a few times, because they have other stuff coming in that they have to review. They've got old favourites that they go back to often, which they should, of course. They should use what they enjoy. But so yeah, it's hard to use everything you have when you have over 100 palettes. So I don't want this list to be the same next year. I don't want to have palettes that I'm like, meh. Not that there are a huge number in here, but there were a few palettes that I'm like, I don't think this would have been in my top 20 other than it was in a project pan. So instead of signing up for a bunch of projects in 2023, I might still sign up for a few, though not until after the wedding. I am going to essentially try and predetermine what my top 20 palettes of 2023 will be, and I've already filmed that. I'll have it up in the next couple of days, so it's kind of like a plans, eyeshadow usage goals for the year, and my own little project that I'm starting, because I have some favorites and I really want to use them. I want to use them a bit more. So I hope you will join me for that video in the next couple of days. I would love to hear, are you doing a bunch of projects? Are you doing collab projects with other people? Have you got your own goals? Do you actually have a goal to try more new makeup in 2023? One reason that I am disappointed with these numbers is I know that there are new palettes that came in that I really wanted to use more often, but I couldn't because I had an older palette in a project pan that I had to use a certain number of times. And while I really enjoy that, and my favourite way to pan this year has been No Pan Left Behind, where I'm rotating through every single shade and getting through a lot of my collection like that. Like, I have a lot of palettes I used 4 times, and I did that style in a different project, in various project pans during the year. But sometimes when a new thing comes in, you want to use it all week, and I wasn't really able to do that. I want to be able to do that in 2023. Not that I intend to buy a lot of palettes. In fact, looking at these numbers, looking at the reality, has made me confront I have way too much eyeshadow. So I am setting myself the goal, a low buy goal, of not buying more than 12 palettes in 2023. Now, I bought 3 palettes on the 1st of January, so I'm already putting that to the test, but I still think I can do it. And that is inspired by Andrea Mattiliano, who used to do that she could get 1 palette a month. Now she's not doing that anymore, but she kind of like readjusted her views on buying eyeshadow by committing to that for a period of time. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!